You thought Clara's story was over. But what if the story has just started to write you? Now sit back, relax, have a cup of tea, and let's get started. Clara slept on, because that was her first time sleeping, because she had never truly awakened. Mostly because she was no longer human. Time had ceased to be interwoven. No one outside could tell if it was night or dawn, because there was no outside anymore. They had replaced the paper walls. Now, the paper was on the wall. She was no longer inside the house. She was the house. With every breath, a window opened. With every blink, a sentence appeared. But she wasn't the one writing. The writer was something that watched. The table was still there, but she no longer felt its pull. It simply waited, like everything else. The notepad was far more discolored now. The stain on its cover had deepened. Not ink, but a void. A hole. A channel. An eye. An inward gaze, rather than outward. Clara opened the notebook. The first page was still blank, but the silence was no longer empty. The page began to speak, not in words, but in emotion. And that emotion was someone else's memory. Clara used to be there, but that was in the past. Because in this house, time only echoes. Every written word carries an echo. Every echo holds an eye. Everyone is watching. And every observer eventually becomes a writer. Clara's vision dimmed, but she did not go blind. What she saw was no longer imprinted on her eyes. It was etched into her mind. Throughout the house, a phrase whispered over and over. Just when you think you're finished, the story begins to write you. Suddenly, all the lights went out. But darkness was more than the absence of light. It had a personality, and it knew Clara's name. The walls began to tremble. The pages began to swell. And from them, letters spilled out. Not in red ink, but in something alive. There was nothing Clara could do, because there was nowhere to go. The only way out was through the story, and it was no longer hers. She looked into the mirror one last time, but the Clara in the mirror wasn't writing. She was reading. Clara tried to scream, but her voice came from several pages away, as if someone else was using her mouth. Or maybe Clara had only ever been a character. She didn't know anymore. The last page of the notebook turned, and there it was. If you're reading these lines, they're watching you too. Clara was no longer in the house. She was inside the sentence. The story is complete, but you haven't started writing yet. You've finished reading, but they haven't finished watching.